Hello everyone, and in this video we'll start to learn about classes. Finally, the topic that was actually there, and we'll see. Previously, we have already implemented the structure of classes using constructor functions. Now we'll see how we can do the same using the class syntax that we have. It's going to be pretty easy, to be honest, as compared to constructor functions. So let's start. So this is the code that we left previously. For now, what I have done is I've copied the same code to this cf.js, and what we will do is let's remove all this code from here, and we'll one by one convert all our constructor functions to class syntax, so that we get a hold of things that how this conversion is going to be done from constructor functions to class syntax. And we have pretty much covered all the things in constructor functions as well. So eh, this will very easily this will create a very easy mind map for us as well, that we can think of like what structure of class we should have and what kind of objects we are going to create. So we have a very good memory map already created around these classes. So let's see. We need to create a class called fish. So the syntax is simple. You'll say fish. Now, inside class as well, we have to write a constructor function that will be very similar to the old constructor function that we had. So let's just copy this function from here, go to our class and paste here. Now, just the difference is here we will directly call it constructor. Instead of giving it some name, we will simply call it constructor. And for now, let's remove this get name from here, and let's just add this dot name. In next video, we'll see how we can make these variables private, but for now, let's not make them private. There are other ways to make these variables private as well. And here we are already using class function, operator, class keyword. So we don't need to check if it is called with a new object or not. That would be done for us automatically. And let's get rid of this total fishes. Okay, we need total fishes as well. So this is our constructor, and that's it. So we won't have to change anything when it comes to our constructor. Next, we had an extra variable that was not there in constructor function. Why it was not there in constructor function? Because it was a static variable, and we have discussed in very depth what are static variables. What we need to do about this, we had an initial value of 0. So let's just copy this variable, and for static variables that we need to create, we can just paste them directly here, and we just have to put a keyword static in front of them. It's making our life very easy, right? You need to create a static variable, just paste stat front of the name, right? Then we had some functions as well. So what function we had? We had, okay, here is a static function, and because it is attached to fish directly, so it is a static function. See, so I'll just copy this function from here, and we'll see how to create functions inside this environment. So to create a function, what we all need to do is we'll paste our old function here, and instead of writing functions, we can directly write the function name and then whatever the body is there. So it's easy as well. And since this function was static, we can put a keyword static here. And how do I know that this function was static? Because it was attached to the fish object. It was not attached to fish.prototype. This we have discussed in previous videos very extensively. And we have another function that is swim. We are just copy pasting these definitions right now because we are just seeing that how the same things we can implement in class. And it's not that difficult. Once we implement them, so I'll do this way that I'll put all the static things on top, then we'll have a constructor, then I'll put all non-static things below. It's not a convention, you don't need to do that, you can keep anything anywhere, but that's just the mental map that I love to have, that static things on top, then constructor, then non-static things. It's easy to read that way, and it's totally your choice to do it that way or not. And since we have removed the get name function and we are directly accessing the name for now, why we have removed the get name function? Because we are not hiding name for now. We'll see later how to hide names. And actually we can remove this get total fishes as well. This function for now we can comment it out, because we won't be hiding total fishes as well. For now, let's not hide anything. Then is there anything else that is left to implement? No, nothing else is left to implement. So let's go and create a fish, and let's see what and how things are created here. Let's create a fish that is Nemo. So here is our constructor function. Here is a normal function. Here is our static value. And if we wanted to create a static function, this is how we would have created it. And let's leave it there. But since this is not private, so we can also access this variable directly, and we can also use the static function to access this variable any way that we like. So let's go to console and see what we have got. Total fishes is not defined, it says. Okay, my bad. Here it will say this dot total fishes, and why will say this dot total fishes? Because it resides within this object, right? Within this class, right? Previously, why we didn't have to say this dot total fishes? Because it was a local variable that we cleverly used to hide total fishes from being manipulated. Right now we are not doing that, so we can directly access it using this. Let's go back. Now that error is not here, and let's say Nemo. And it gives us an error. Okay, it should be fish dot total fishes. Why it should be fish dot total fishes? That we'll see. So okay, I wrote it this because on purpose I wrote this here on purpose. Let's see why we got what and why we got it. Let's see Nemo. This is the on purpose error, and we'll see how to eradicate it, and we'll also see why it occurred. Apart from this, let's see. So we just ignore it for a couple of seconds. Let's see what we have got here. We got our age in, and where is age residing? Within Nemo. We got our weight, which is residing within Nemo. We got our name, which is residing on Nemo. It is exactly same as we had in constructor function approach. Now let's check nemo.proto __ proto, and actually it will be here as well, but let's check it from here. So prototype, what has changed? The constructor function previously used to be the function directly. Now it shows class fish, and it shows the constructor function. Nothing else will change. Everything will remain same. Swim, that was a non-static function, resides inside the prototype. And where should the static function should reside? Static function should reside inside. Let's see what fish has got. If we print fish, this is the fish object, and it holds a couple of things. It holds our static function that we created. We created a static function right here. It holds the static function and the static value. Now, and the static value is 0 as it was expected. Now let's see why we got this error. We got this error because we were trying to access this dot total fishes. And what refers to? This refers to the newly created object. Okay. Now understand this one thing. Whatever we have learned in constructor functions, everything is same. So now remember what happens when you call new. When you call new, fish is a function. Think of this as the fish function. Fish is a function that is called with a new object that is created, and this is bounded by that new object, right? So this is pointing towards what? Nemo. And is when this was accessed, when this was accessed, was there any keyword named as total fishes? No. So there was something called undefined, undefined, and we tried to do a plus plus on undefined. What we get? Nan. This is why we 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 got it here. So instead of this, we have to type here is fish. Why fish? Because fish is a static value. Now we save it, and now we check again. Now it looks cleaner, and the previous error is gone, and we also understand why we did that error. In prototype we have swim, and in Nemo dot, and in fish we'll have the static value and static functions. And under the hood, it is doing all the things exactly the same way that we learned and that we did manually in constructor functions. See, see the correlation. This function is almost exactly equal to our constructor function that we created. We called this constructor function. The class will also call this constructor function. The object that is created from this constructor function has a prototype of fish.prototype. Now if we go here, then see, inside this class as well we have a prototype value. So it will be the same. If you say fish dot prototype, and if you check this fish dot prototype triple equal to nemo dot underscore underscore proto, it will say true, because remember what was the second step. First step, what new operator did is, I guess we wrote it somewhere. We didn't wrote it. Okay. First step, what new operator did was it created a new object. Second step, it sets new objects underscore underscore proto as the constructor functions prototype. That's what's happened. Then what it did? Then it calls the constructor function which caused these values to populate. And then what we had previously done, these all these functions that were non-static was take to fish dot prototype object. So inside fish dot prototype object, we will see all the non-static functions. And where did the non-static value, static values and static functions were? They were directly inside fish object, right? So what classes actually do is they provide a sugar coating over this syntax, over this syntax. Sometimes it becomes confusing when you use classes. Sometimes, why? Because if you don't know what is actually happening underneath when you use a class, then you might not actually understand that why. If something fails somewhere, you might not actually understand why it is failing, because you might not understand how prototype works, how prototype chain works. This is why it is very important to understand how all this using constructor functions. That is why we had those chats at length. Now that you understand them, all this typical code can be reduced to this easier one. So this is pretty much it for this video. In next video, right now, what we haven't achieved yet is that this variable is not hidden. This variable is also not hidden. Remember, previously we couldn't change our name because we had hidden it. But right now we can change it. Nemo dot name. Right now it's Nemo. Let's change it to Gigi. And if we access Nemo dot name, it's changed. Now we want to hide this variable. And if we check fish dot total total fishes, it is 1, and I can actually change it to any big number. Let me change it to 777. Now let's access it. We have changed it. What previously had done, we had made a cap on it. Previously we had made a cap on it using this total fishes. So previously we had hidden this total fishes from everywhere, like no one can access it. So in next video we'll see how these variable hidings will be done in classes. Let's jump to the next video then.